Welcome back to another episode of Driven in Her Purpose. I'm Rosie Leonore, your host, and I want to say a special welcome to you. If you are new here to this channel, this podcast, welcome. I bring you every Monday mindset tips, and I also have guests that help also bring their thoughts and their insight and their experience to the show to help Christian women who are dreaming and doing for the glory of God. So today is Spirit-Filled Saturday, and we have Spirit-Filled Saturdays on the first Saturday of every month. So this being February, I thought, why not focus on love? Now, this is a scripture that has impacted me so many times and so many ways. And that is, you guessed it, 1 Corinthians 13 and verse 4 all the way through verse 8. So I'm going to read the scripture, and then I want to give you some suggestions and a little insight just to focus it for the next 4 weeks. And so I'm going to give you some tips on how to kind of break down this scripture for this month, being the month of love, right? We take advantage and say month of love, February, right? Why not? Month of love should be every month, but why not, right? So we're going to break it down, and then it's going to be better for you to be able to apply the scripture a little more practically. Okay, so today I'm going to be reading from a version that perhaps, I don't know if you're used to, but it is the NRSV, which is the New Revised Standard Version. This is from my C.S. Lewis Bible. I actually love it. It's a gift I got for Christmas. It's awesome. Usually I'll read like the NIV, which is the New International Version, but I'll be reading from this one today. So it says, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. And it bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails. I love how it ends there with the description of love, that it says love never fails or love never ends. In this version, it says love never ends. I'm just used to reading it in the NIV version. Love never ends. That's the conclusion to the what is love. And that's really, really encouraging. But let's start in the first part. So for this coming week, this is my challenge to you to focus on these two aspects of love, which is love is patient and love is kind. Love is patient and love is kind. So you can take this in the next week and focus on those. Say you are with your spouse or your child, your children, coworkers, any relationship you have. You may be tested, right? You probably will be tested, and you probably have been tested on patience. I think we all can relate to that. You may have also been tested to be kind, especially to those who are not kind to you. I think they go hand in hand. If you want to check out an episode I did on patience and kindness, feel free. I will definitely link it below. But I definitely expressed how there was a time where I was really tested in this with my husband. So love is patient and kind. You take these two aspects next week and you focus on those. How can you be patient and kind with that person or those you love or the people that are around you? So then you take these the next week and you do the following. So you'll take the next couple of words and you apply it to the following week. So it says, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. Things will happen along the way that maybe can make you envious. Maybe you don't realize that you have been wanting more. You've been wanting something that someone else have. Or you know that maybe you have been ungrateful. You know, if you're ungrateful, sometimes you're like, you're not feeling very grateful for what you have and you want more, you want what someone else has. And we don't really necessarily consciously say it that way in our minds, but that's kind of what our subconscious can do sometimes. And I can tell you, I've been there. So try to focus on being grateful. I think gratitude will definitely overcome any envy. Pride. So if you're thinking you're better or you did something better than someone else, or maybe you haven't extended a helping hand to someone because it's just a waste of your time. That may be how you want to think of that. Like boastful in the sense of don't let pride dominate you the following week. And definitely don't be rude. So perhaps, again, this is not necessarily my struggle, But when you get upset about something, you can be rude. Like I have been rude to my husband, and sometimes I don't even know. And he's had to tell me, baby, that was rude. And I'm like, really? No way. Yeah. So rudeness is something you definitely want to watch out for. Okay, so for the third week, you're going to focus on this one right here. It does not insist on its own way, and it's not irritable or resentful. Okay, so it does not insist on its own way. Usually it's the part that says love is not selfish. So if you really want to do something your way, and you want the other person, again, say a significant other or a coworker or something like that, say if you're married, this is something that I can relate to a lot, where my husband will want to do something and then I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. Then like, why not? Why can't I just let him do that thing, especially if recently he allowed me to do this thing? So let's say I want to watch a certain kind of movie, and I know this is so simple, right? But this is a reality. He wants to watch a certain kind of movie, and I'm like, that's not my favorite genre. I want to watch something else. But last week, he just said, okay, let's watch the movie that you want. Well, why can't we watch the movie that he wants? I mean, it's only fair, right? So things like that. It doesn't have to be really big things, but so a big thing may come up. You definitely want to make sure that you are not insisting in your own way, that you're not being selfish. And then the other part of that is love is not irritable or resentful. So again, even when you're compromising you might be irritated, or in any situation. I think about being a parent. It is so easy to get irritated with your kids. It is so easy to get irritated with your kids. Can I say that twice? 3 times maybe? It is, isn't it? Parents, if you're listening to me, you know. If you're not a parent, you can relate too, because I'm sure you get irritated with other stuff. Like when I wasn't a parent, I got irritated with other things as well. It is easy to get irritated. Well, this week, focus on when you're starting to get irritated, remember the scripture. Remember, this is something that can help you. You can stop, you can pray, you can breathe, you meditate on that scripture and think about, am I loving? Am I loving? No. Let me calm down. Let me scale back on my irritation here, and let me just be that person to understand and to be gracious and to be forgiving and to be patient. Again, all of that has to do with irritation. So again, not being irritable or resentful. So if someone has done you wrong, that's another thing to think about. If someone has done you wrong and you have not forgiven that person, meditate on, think about, reflect what it is that you haven't forgiven yet. Who haven't you forgiven yet? And make that decision to forgive. You don't want to live with that in your heart. Number 1, it's not good for your heart. And number 2, Jesus doesn't teach that. Okay? And then the last week you're going to do is this part right here where it says it bears all things. So love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Wow, that is a loaded one, right? So believes all things. So if you believe, your faith, you got to be trusting, right? Trust in the person that God has put in your life, or the people that God has put in your life, with an open heart and an open mind. Also try to open up your heart to bigger or deeper friendships as well. Of course, I always, say, and this is in my own, when I was doing my own emotional healing, and I learned that, you do have to have boundaries for those who are toxic and who are harming you in some way. You don't want to be careful with those people, and ask for God for wisdom with that. But other than that, really, you can learn how to really trust and really break free from any scars in the past that perhaps whether either that person, maybe you haven't forgiven, or with other people that perhaps make it difficult for you to believe them or to trust them. Have an open heart and mind. And if you need emotional healing, there's a book I will recommend also on the comments section, and you will, and in the show notes, and you will be able to see that recommendation. So if it's something that perhaps you feel like could help you in your journey, please feel free to grab a copy of that book. It helped me tremendously. So believes all things, hopes all things. So this is another big one. You're hopeful. Don't give up. Don't give up. We're living still in a very difficult time. Be hopeful. Be hopeful in whatever dream you have right now, whatever you're pursuing. Be hopeful. Be hopeful in if you have some, an illness in your family or you're going through it, be hopeful. For me, true story, I recently went through this vertigo stage. I had dizziness, and I discovered recently that it runs in my family. It really messed me up for 2 days. It was horrible. I went to the doctor. Apparently that's what it was, vertigo. And it was really, really, really tough, especially because one day I really had to go to work. I missed one, but the other day I had to go because I was responsible for a state competition that my students qualified for. I couldn't just not go. And God gave me the strength. I really relied on him. I hoped. I was like hoping. Okay, God. And then today, actually, it's funny because today, as I'm recording this, is the first day that I haven't had any dizziness at all. And this has been such a blessing. So being hopeful is a good thing. Be hopeful in God. And then, of course, endures all things, perseveres. Love perseveres. Persevere in what you are trying to attain. As long as it glorifies God, put it in God's hands. Persevere, you're going to get through it. Persevere through difficult times. Persevere through persecutions. Persevere through so much. Hoping and persevering and trusting. Those three are powerful, powerful words in this scripture. And I know that even just 1 week might not be enough. You may want to break them down into 3 different weeks if you want. Do this, however, but I want to make sure that in the month of February, we have that focus of love and focus on this scripture here throughout the entire month. And remember verse 8, love never fails, or love never ends in this version. Love never fails. It never ends. And that is amazing. Why? So why doesn't it end? Why doesn't it fail? Because true love comes from God. And if we do these things, if we apply these practicals in our lives, we will be able to learn a little bit more what it's like to love like God does. And to gain that insight into God's heart and mind, that is an honor and a privilege, ladies. So I hope and pray that you can take this episode, all these things that we learned in the scripture, and that you can apply it for the month of February, and that this Spirit-Filled Saturday has truly encouraged you, not just for today, but for the entire month. Remember to walk in your own journey, having your own times with God every day, super important. Remember to prioritize God in everything, and it will be awesome. Your walk with God will be amazing. So thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next month on the next Spirit-Filled Saturday, the first Saturday of March. But don't forget, I will see you right here on Monday for Mindset Monday.